I'm Dave Wiesdock, Sage of Creative Scaffolding.
And I'm Jen West, Professional Rebel of Delight.
And this is Shadowcasting. Hey Jen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing outstanding today. Been outside before it gets way too hot. How are you doing?
Doing good. I was practicing my song form today, my martial arts.
Getting into the Tai Chi.
Exactly. You know, it was interesting as I was practicing with it. I was making mistakes and trying to not get in my head about it. And it brought to mind this quote that I just thought would be so cool to share today. And it's from one of my favorite Stoics, Marcus Aurelius. It's get back up when you fail, celebrate behaving like a human.
Oh, that fits right in with us, doesn't it? It's a humanity quote today.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought it was so poetic for our tagline for our podcast of celebrating our humanity. In a lot of ways, we've hinted at this tagline with various quotes and various podcasts that we've done so far. And I feel like this one just really underscores for me the intention behind that tagline. It's not a dismissal of parts of us, it's celebrating the whole. And part of being human is failing. And so part of being human then is not just failing, it's learning about failure and how we handle failure. And when things don't go our way or there are challenges in life, how we handle that. Because it is that beautiful act of overcoming these struggles, these failures, these lessons that allows us to celebrate our humanity. It creates more empathy with those around us. It creates more tolerance and perseverance within ourselves. So there's a lot of gifts here that I feel come with this quote.
Yeah, hit me with it one more time.
So the quote is, get back up when you fail, celebrate behaving like a human.
Yeah, I really like that. There's just this energy to it that you're not alone. You're not the only one who can't do things, And I think a lot of the time we get in our heads and we start to think that we're the only one that fails at things. And that's when we get dejected and we don't want to be a part of the game. And falling down, having it not work, failing, and then getting back up is being human, and it's worth celebrating. I fell down. I did something wrong. And yay, I am a part of the human race.
Absolutely. And what comes to mind with that too is this idea of non-judgment. It's so easy when we fail to get into our heads. Our ego is hurt. Our internal wounds that you can't see on the outside start to seep into our mind. And we create these stories around it. I have two examples for this. One where I think it kind of highlights when we're not living in this quote, and one that does. So the first example is back in college. I did bowling a lot with my friends, and I was just not good at it. Not good. I mean, I might bowl 100 if I was lucky. And not that my friends were like bowling 400s either, but, comparatively, I just wasn't that good. And this was, I think, one of the first things you and I talked about was this idea of what's the intent of being there bowling with my friends? Was it to have a good time with them? Was it to build a new skill, or was it to compete and win and beat them? And I would get into my head when my score wasn't as good because I was judging myself because I was failing against my standard that I had set. And I think that robbed myself of my experience with my friends, because instead of it just being this opportunity to celebrate our humanity as a whole, to just hang out, I was making it this other thing. I was living in the failure and not growing from that. I was choosing to let that set the tone. Contrast that with a different example where you and I are talking about, like I brought up at the beginning of this podcast, we're doing different martial art practices, and it could get competitive. Sure. I could, am I better than Jen? Not that I would ever think that anyways, but I could go into that mindset. Or as I've noticed, as you and I have been talking, especially the past few weeks, it's this opportunity to celebrate our humanity, because I don't know really what I'm doing. I'm learning and growing every day, and I'm practicing. And I could just see every day as a failure where I'm not getting it. Or, and as I am choosing, I am seeing it as an opportunity to learn, to get better, to grow. And it's so funny because as I share these things with you, outside looking in, people might think that it's really mundane and boring what we're talking about. Is our arms at a 45-degree angle or a 50-degree angle? Like some people I could just hear even in the podcast going, who gives a crap? Who cares? And yet that's what we just spent 10 minutes debating. It's funny to me because when the mindset is celebrating humanity and learning to grow from in ways we fail, it creates a different mindset. It creates a different atmosphere that makes the failures not that big. And I grow quicker and better because instead of having to work through judgment about where I'm at or how I'm failing, I'm choosing to just look at that as the opportunity to grow. And I really feel like this quote underscores that in order to celebrate our humanity, there has to be a mindset shift. There has to be this way in which you are looking at your failures as an opportunity, which again is just an underlying Stoic philosophy and why I think that this quote is so great.
I think those are brilliant examples. And we had a fun discussion, and we're going to do it again after about these little tiny details. Where are my hips? Where are my shoulders? And we're both going, oh, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It's not working. I'm so frustrated. And we're connecting and laughing and having a good time. And it reminds me of being a child. When we be out on monkey bars or something, it's like, can you swing from 1 to 2? And somebody could do it. It'd be like, wow, what did you do? And you're discussing how it worked and how to help your friend. And that's what life's about. Experiencing something new, embracing something that's hard, and then working with other people. And not necessarily suffering, the word comes suffering, but exploring and not being able to do it, and then being able to do it, and then going, what's next?
Yeah.
What's the next hard thing? Can I cross 3 monkey bars? Can I cross 4? Oh, can I climb on top of the monkey bars? How am I going to get up there? It's just this ever evolving. And now our evolving is changing. Now we're in this practice of Tai Chi and inner martial arts, but then there's the evolving of ourselves and our mind, and what are we doing? What are we changing? What are we struggling with? And who can we share it with? Who can we evolve with?
Yeah. Again, it's humanity. It's a wholeness. It's a group. Just
Humans are cool. We're actually cool. We hate each other because of the strife that we have, but we're really fun and cool. We should enjoy being human instead of always looking at, well, dogs are way better. If we were more like dogs, no, we need to celebrate. Dogs are sometimes mean to each other.
right.
And humans are cool too. All cool, especially if we can just get out of our insecurity and grow together and celebrate each other.
I want to just spend at least a minute talking about the first part of this quote because I think we really underscored why it's important to celebrate our humanity, to shift that mindset. But the first part of this quote is important too. Get back up after we fail. It reminds me of there's this quote in the Dark Knight movie, the one with Christian Bale as Batman, and the butler, Alfred, asks Bruce, why do we fall? And the answer is so we can learn how to pick ourselves back up. It's the exact act of something that makes us truly human, failure. We judge so much and we allow it to just beat us down. I think if we were to learn that that is just a part of life and instead of something to fight against, just something to embrace with humility and love and openness and curiosity, that's how we get back up from failure. Sometimes I think that's what's overlooked, especially when you hear quotes of similar natures or how to get back. It's like, how do we get back up? How do we learn from failure? Because it's easy enough for me to go, oh, well, learn from your failure. Like that's so generic. But wow, I think that's something I would love to hear in the comments from our audience. And maybe this does turn into a bit of a bigger podcast about how we pick ourselves up from failure, because there's a lot of intricacies that I'm thinking about now as we're talking about this. It's not just movement. I mean, we can fail at work, we can fail as a spouse, as a partner, as a parent. There's so many ways in which we create these yardsticks that we judge ourselves against. And what happens when you start to take a step back from that, to pause and really sit with, okay, I feel X. I feel happy or I feel upset because I failed at Y. I wasn't able to achieve whatever this goal, whatever I set as a goal for myself. Maybe it was to make sure that I attended all my meetings on time or that I was present with my kids when they were talking to me. Let's go with that one because that one I feel like might resonate with a lot in our audience. Or you're on your phone and you're burnt out from your day at work, or you're trying to plan what's for dinner and your kids are coming to talk to you and you know that they just want to share their day with you and your attention's divided and you just weren't focused with them. And then so then you go to bed and it's 10 o'clock at night, your kids are already asleep and you're just, your head's reeling because the meal wasn't good, you weren't present with your kids, and you're just listening and sitting with your failures. And if you breathe into that, that's some really heavy stuff. And that doesn't carry that same energy of what Jen and I were just harping on, which is that celebration. So, how do you change it? You shift the mindset. How do you get back up? You get open, you get curious, you start to ask questions around what you're feeling, and that opens ways up. Okay, maybe you weren't present with your kids at dinner, so you commit in the morning, you're going to spend time with them at breakfast, or maybe you treat them to breakfast out, or you find different ways to reopen up that avenue. It's not a one and done. You weren't there at dinner, so therefore you failed. It's a, okay, where can I pivot and how can I learn from this and where can I grow and what other options are available to me? And by doing that, you're celebrating your humanity because you're showing not only to yourself, but in this case to your kids, how you can adapt and grow and learn from failure.
Yeah. So I invite our audience to breathe into failure as it comes, little ones, and honor the fact that you're human. Just every time it happens for the next week, celebrate the fact that you're human.
Yeah. So let us know in the notes ways that you learn to rise from failure, ways that you're learning to celebrate your humanity, even if it's not something that maybe you wanted to celebrate before listening to this podcast. And as always, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts and give us your feedback. And until next time.
See ya.